Hello, huge movie fanatic Nate, stopping on by. This time I'm coming at you for a video about some home viewing history, if you will. Coming your way with a video showcasing my first DVD player I ever bought, and probably most likely one of the very first DVD players that was ever manufactured. To my knowledge, DVD players were first made available in 1997. That summer is when I bought this, and subsequently my very first DVDs and stuff like that. The next video I upload will be my first DVDs, or my DVD collection in 1997 or whatever. That'll be my next video, and showcasing my very first DVDs I ever bought and stuff, and I've got a photograph that'll showcase my entire DVD collection sometime in 1997. But this is a Panasonic DVD-A100. It's a DVD slash video CD slash CD player, and it's got a compact disc digital video logo here, which is kind of interesting. Back in the 90s, video CD was kind of a really little known precursor to DVD. Back in the 90s, it was, of course, well, 80s and 90s, it was Laserdisc was the primary disc format for watching movies. And of course, I don't remember, I think it was 1994 I got a Laserdisc player, so I was rocking Laserdisc from like 94 until 97. It should be said that I'm not really an early adopter person. I think the only thing that I've ever been an early adopter in is DVD. Like, as far as Blu-ray goes, I was hardly an early adopter of Blu-ray. I didn't get my first Blu-ray player until I think 2010. I still have not, obviously, well, it's not obvious, but I still have not ventured into the 4K Blu-ray or arena, because I'm so frustrated about just all these new formats coming, and just with seemingly less and less time between them. Of course, that as you age, time goes quicker, and that's just all relative or whatever. But so what I'm trying to say very long-windedly is DVD was probably the only time I really was ever like an early adopter into a format, or a home video format, or probably anything that ever happened in the tech world. Because having been doing Laserdisc for however many years, it seemed like an eternity from 94 to 97. Wasn't very many years, but there were things I loved about Laserdisc, like the only way, in a lot of cases it was the only way to see an actual widescreen version of a movie on home video, just digital audio and stuff like that. But there were a lot of things about Laserdisc that I never really liked, a lot of things that sucked. I mean, if you had a movie that was over an hour long, you had to flip over the disc. Sometimes you have to have more than one disc. I mean, it was just kind of a pain in the ass, not to mention, like, I don't know, some collections were really expensive, like $100 or more or whatever, if you wanted to get a slam bang Criterion edition of something. So when DVD hit, I was really eager, because I was toying around with the video. I was kind of poking around in the CD video thing. I never got a CD video player or anything like that, or never any CD video discs. I mean, from what I knew at the time about, is it CD video? It's video CD. What I knew at the time about that is, it's like you'd have to have like 2 discs to watch a movie, and it was not a format that was very obviously well. It was not a format that ever went mainstream. DVD, I just had a good feeling about DVD when it came down the pike, and being able to have a whole movie on a CD-sized disc, not having to flip it over, just the quality was just instantly just better than Laserdisc, or, well, I can't really speak for, I would imagine it's better than video CD as well. But so I'm just basically bringing you this video to showcase this Panasonic DVD-A100 player, which, like I say, is probably one of the very first DVD players ever. You'll see here that it's got the one way you can tell is it's got a headphone jack right in it with a volume control, and that's probably one of the biggest giveaways, not to mention that it says video CD on the damn thing. This has been just in storage forever, not to mention compact disc digital video. That's obviously probably the video CD logo. This has been in storage for the longest time, and I haven't turned it on for the longest time. So on camera, we're going to turn it on and see what happens. So here's the power button. Oops, I had to plug it in. So now that it's plugged in, we've got a standby. We'll notice that there's a standby light when it's off. I'm surprised they did that as early as back as '97. But let's turn on the power button, see what happens. We get no disc here. So I'm going to press eject, and I've actually got, this is what I'll showcase in my upcoming video, the very first DVD ever of Taxi Driver that came out in 1997. So it's only, I thought it was only fitting to put one of the very first DVDs in one of the very first DVD players. Unfortunately, this isn't connected to a monitor, but we're just going to see what it sounds like when we shut it. If it Okay, looks like it's loading up and the counter's clicking. It probably works. They're probably showing the menu. This is just like a blast from the past. There's like this orange DVD thing here. It says title chapter 1. There's a listing here of the frickin' chapters. So it looks like it works. Like I say, we don't have a monitor. I'm not going to bother hooking up to a monitor or anything like that. I figured we could see if it worked just by doing this. But here is what the little readout thing looks like on one of the world's first DVD players. As I said, when it came on, it was kind of a blast from the past to see this. And if you see over there on the right, all of the chapters. And I would imagine as the movie plays, like the numbers, quite possibly like number 1, 2, and 3 and stuff, as the movie progresses, I imagine those numbers disappear, you know, and like if you're on chapter 5, then 1, 2, and 3, and 4 will be, you know, off and 5 will be on or something like that. Very interesting. And how you've got actually, you know, a title, you know, that first one there before the chapter word is the title. You've actually got, you know, a title readout on the front of your player, and then after the chapter would probably be the chapter. It's just really weird looking at this again. That's really, really interesting. So as you can see here, when I push the next chapter, it'll be title 1, chapter 2, and as I said, I was correct that the 1 disappears, so now we're on chapter 2, you know, and if you go to chapter 3, so as you progress, the numbers here are disappearing. That is just so archaic. That is awesome. And you can see there's this orange arrow that's pointing this way, probably indicating there are more chapters past what is, you know, able to be visible on here, which is 14. So we'll just see what happens when we get there. So now we're at 14, and now it'll just indicate, well, there's more, but we don't have any more display to show any further. Well, it's kind of surprising, and quite honestly, that this thing appears to still work. So that's pretty fun. So looking on the back of the DVD player, we will also be treated to proof of just how old this thing, you know, actually is. We have a this would stay on, you know, DVD players probably all the way through. Maybe not on some of the cheaper ones as the years went on, but on your high-end DVD players, you know, the digital audio out is something that I think would pretty much remain on DVD players. I mean, for quite a while, obviously, for your Dolby Digital and DTS multi-channel audio stuff. But here you've got your basic, this is what I used in 1997, your basic audio out, right and left, and video out to go to your, you know, analog tube TV. And what's really interesting about this, having looked at it again, is it's got, and this will indicate its age as well, being from the 90s, it's got an S-video out jack, which was pretty much, well, I think it was like this in between the conventional yellow video out, and then you've got your, was it composite, where it was like the 3 cables for that. I think that was the best. I think with like analog tube TVs or whatever, you had 3 basic video connections, your video out with the yellow plug, and then the S video out I think was like the second best quality, and I think the best quality from what I know just a standard tube, TV of the 90s or whatever was the composite or composite, whatever the hell it was. It was the 3-plug, where I think you're actually doing like the red, green, and blue signals separately on, with 3 different plugs. But it was really interesting looking at the back of this to see the S video out, jack, which I haven't seen for quite some time. Really interesting thing here is the manufacturer date, of course, March 1997. As you can see, Panasonic model number DVD-A. Oh, now they're saying on the back A100U. So that's probably the official model number, made in Japan, which is interesting, versus China. And then you've got all your stuff here. And back in the 90s, they still referred to Dolby Digital as AC3, of course. So even at the beginning of DVD era, Dolby Digital was, AC3 / Dolby Digital were the 2 ways to really, refer to that format. And that's pretty much all there is on the back. Something interesting to note is the plug actually, detaches from the back of it. So that's kind of convenient for travel or, transporting it or whatever. You can pull that plug out of the back there. It's not just, affixed into the back of the unit, unable to take out. So that's something that's pretty convenient, actually. One thing that I forgot to mention, which I should have mentioned early on, is that since this is since I was an early adopter to the DVD format right in its inception in the summer basically of 1997, of course one of the drawbacks, there's several drawbacks to being an early adopter. I think the number one is the cost. The cost is, of course, really, really high. So I'm kind of hesitant to say it, but I'll just bite the bullet and say it. I actually paid $500 for this. At the time, being a huge movie fanatic and being able to actually, adopt a new format, which was hopefully going to replace, the cumbersome, kind of frustrating format of Laserdisc, was something that, and being able to watch a movie on one disc the size of a CD without flipping it over, all these kind of things, and better quality and video quality and stuff, were, it was all worth it to me to drop $500 on this thing. So that's one of the disadvantages of being an early adopter. Another disadvantage is just the hardware. Since it's the very first, year or whatever, some of the very first hardware of a format, it's not always going to work the best. And I couldn't find the remote. I don't know where the remote is, but one of the things that would, kind of, I don't know, for an example of this, one of the first DVD players, this one right here, not working as good as DVD players would work in the future, is like if you wanted to fast forward through a scene or rewind, not skip to different chapters, but just fast forward or rewind. If you saw something like some boobs or an explosion and you want to go back to it and rewind, you have to actually just hold the button down on the remote. I remember that. You couldn't just like tap it and then it'd go back, and then you press play when you want to resume. You'd have to hold it down, which is something that I was just like, that's really freaking annoying. Of course, I think you had to do that with Laserdisc players too, and CD players, so I don't know. I guess, I don't know why I was so annoyed by it at the time, if that's the way you fast forwarded and rewinded things at the time. Maybe I'm from the future and I knew that, future DVD players wouldn't be like that. Of course, in years since, you can just press fast forward. They could even press it multiple times for different speeds, for fast forward and rewind. But that was one of the disadvantages of this being one of the very first DVD players. So yep, this thing cost me $500 in the summer of 1997. At the time, movies were my passion, and well, movies are still kind of my passion now. And like I said, the ability for, hopefully better quality and, some exciting new features and stuff. I guess I might as well say some of the exciting features that were touted in the summer of 97 was, at the time, a lot of, Warner Brothers was one of the first studios to really embrace DVD. And one of the big selling points, it wasn't for every title, it depended on what title it was. But for example, Forbidden Planet was like one of the first DVDs ever made. So it had the widescreen on one side and full screen on the other. That was a huge selling point of DVD in the first year of DVD. And then of course things that I thought were so cool at first, like just multiple language tracks, like you're ever gonna really care. You know, it's cool. It was a novelty and kind of cool at first, like, oh wow, I can watch the whole movie in French. Of course, I've never watched a whole movie in French, but it was just kind of cool to be able to like switch it and, oh cool, look at that, he said oui instead of yes. But I mean, the novelty wore off really quick with the multiple languages and all this kind of stuff. So, you know, in the summer of '97, when DVD was, you know, really in its inception in early months of, you know, quite literally early weeks and months of existence, that was the big selling point. I'd say the biggest one was widescreen and full screen versions on one disc. You flip it over, or you'd have, not long after, you know, DVD came around, you'd actually have, I think the very first dual layer DVD I ever got was Goldfinger in 1997 as well, which would have widescreen and full frame on the same side. So, of course, you know, as DVDs would go on to be made and stuff, you'd have different studios doing different things. I kind of prefer the, you know, the Warner Brothers thing of a widescreen on one side and standard on the other. But that, you know, those kind of things quickly kind of fell by the wayside, and not long after DVD really started. Like, I think even in 98, 99, they no longer really, I mean, you know, this is going to vary through different distributors and stuff like that, but as the years went on, they kind of stopped offering the full screen version and was just, you know, widescreen, which is fine, because, you know, who the hell really wants to watch full screen anyway? And you know, in an effort to save space on discs and stuff, that option of doing either or kind of went away. It'd be interesting to know like the very last DVD that like included both full screen and widescreen. That'd be like a history question or whatever. But as always, this video I think went on a little longer than I intended, but obviously if it's anything movie related, movie tech related, as this video is, it kind of gets my mouth flapping and going, and just, you know, I can talk on and on and on forever about this kind of stuff. So I don't know, it was just this video idea was something I thought of. It's just like it kind of changed it up from just doing movie reviews and or Blu-ray reviews to, you know, doing like movie related tech, kind of tech history, you know. Like I say, I think this is one of the very first DVD players ever, and it seems to me like maybe there were 3 different companies, like Panasonic, this is a Panasonic, and then Samsung. So it's like Panasonic came out with one, Samsung came out with one, and maybe another company came out with one, you know. And it seems like this might be one of the first, you know, one of the 3 first DVD players ever made, and certainly I would imagine it's Panasonic's very first DVD player they ever would make. I would imagine, I can't back any of this stuff up, you know, for sure, but, you know, being, you know, saying it, I mean, it says it's manufactured in March of '97, and I know for a fact that I got it in the summer of 1997, so I can at least confirm when I got it, you know. So thank you very much for watching this video showcasing my very first DVD player I ever bought, and quite possibly one of the first DVD players ever. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, we'll catch you on the next video.